that I welcome this kind of examination because people have got to know whether or not their president is a crook. Well, I'm not a crook.
We can make our beloved country the source of all the dreams and the opportunities that she was missing.
Welcome to the American Idiots Podcast, the show where we take the most divisive headlines and put them to the debate with our diverse group of hosts. Join us as we leave no story uncovered and spare no politician. What's up, everybody? Welcome into the American Idiot Show. I am, of course, Money Mike. Want to welcome everybody in. Say hey if you can. Like, comment, subscribe, and share if you're on YouTube. Facebook, go on to the American Idiots page and like, comment, share, subscribe, all that good shit over there. Okay, now that that's done, going to be a little bit distracted tonight. Got the Elite Eight going on tonight, so woo pig suey. Hopefully the Hogs can manage to upset Baylor tonight. I'll be checking in on that, so we may try as best as we can to update the scores. But here's how crazy I am about sports. I haven't watched a single game of this tournament, and the Hogs have kept winning. So I'm not actively going to watch any game during this tournament, and I'm trying to talk myself out of watching the national championship. So I mean, but if they get there, I may have to watch the national championship just because the Hogs don't play there very often. With that being said, Manny Hispanic, how you doing? I saw that laugh.
I'm doing good. Yes, I was laughing. The superstitious bunch.
Oh, yes. If you don't watch a game and they improve, you can't watch the game. You've got
is that how that works?
You've got to rely on Google. Oh, Lord. Well, Manny, how's your week been?
It's been long. We had our wrestling event Saturday, and
I saw that. How was the crowd and everything?
Crowd was down. I think, people being on spring break.
Yeah.
Really took a toll.
Yeah, but, you'll probably see an uptick pretty quick from that, though.
Overall, it was a good event, I feel.
Awesome. How'd the tournament go?
Went good. Spider wound up winning.
Oh,
so he gets a title shot if Troy Twain can make it to July with the title.
I was about to say that was for the cruiserweight, so we're gonna get a rematch in that case.
Correct.
Okay.
We'll see what happens.
Okay. Well, keep your eyes posted because I'm pretty sure once we get closer to that event, Manny will be having some ads and stuff to show you how to be a part of to come to the event.
And if anybody's interested in just watching it, we've got our channel on YouTube. It's SCW Arkansas. Mm-hmm. I try to put out a video every other week.
Okay. Well, definitely go over there and give them a like, comment, share, subscribe, all that good stuff over there as well if you like professional wrestling. Okay, with that being said, let's bring in the third member of our panel here tonight, Mad Hawk. How you doing this week?
Hey, what's up, everybody? How y'all doing? It has been an absolutely crazy week. I hope y'all have been doing all right.
Oh my God, you ain't lying about that. It's been pretty long. Glad to be back here though.
Yeah, absolutely. Hey, real quick, if you guys don't mind, I just want to send out a quick shout out. My parents in Michigan are watching. It is my mom's birthday tomorrow, so Mom, happy birthday.
Oh, I don't know
if I do mind, then what?
I don't know if we could be wishing Michigan people happy birthday because I think they're still in the tournament, so we can't. Oh Lord, knowing my luck, I'm talking all this shit now, and the Hogs are going to get eliminated tonight.
I was just about to. I was waiting to see who was going to open it up. Do we think the Hogs are going to do it or not?
I love the Razorbacks. I love these Razorbacks. I love this coach. He's about to get paid really well.
Yeah,
but,
I think they can do it tonight. I don't know that they'll go all the way, but they'll definitely do it tonight. And I mean,
good.
The fact that, teams like Duke and Kentucky and Louisville, the regular people that weren't here.
The number one
Definitely help.
seed, Michigan. Go Blue.
Is Michigan still in? I wasn't sure if Michigan was in.
I was just looking earlier. Michigan is still number one. As far as I know, they're still in.
Okay. I didn't know if they
were Go Blue and you had to look it up. You don't know?
I mean, I was looking earlier at Google to see what the standings were.
You're a part-time fan. I got you.
Hey.
Well, we'll definitely have to see. It's going to be a late game, man. It don't start till damn near 9 o'clock here in the Central Time Zone. That's crazy to me. Then again, I guess Monday Night Football starts pretty late as well. But for a work night, that's pretty late for a game. Okay. Well, let's get things started here. And we're going to talk again. This seems like a recurring topic now that we got past the stimulus and everything. This seems like one of our recurring topics here on the show is the southern border and the border wall. And I'm really starting to get a little fed up with with where we are here on this. We have a story now from DW News on this. Oh.
They just crossed the border between Mexico and the United States, and they have been caught by the authorities. A group of 57 immigrants, most of them from Central America. Once on U.S. soil, they are looking for the Border Patrol, not only because they are tired, thirsty, and hungry, but also because they want to start the asylum process as soon as possible.
This is the famous Rio Grande. It marks the border between the United States and Mexico. For many, crossing this river from the side of Mexico and Central America to the United States means the difference between life and death.
A short distance from the natural border, the river, comes the unfinished fence that makes up 1/3 of the over 3,100 kilometer southern border. The construction has stopped under the Biden administration. Raquel and José Luis are friends. They both grew up near the border. Her grandmother came from Mexico, his father as well, in a time of no barriers between Mexico and the United States.
Asegurarnos que los traten bien.
We want to make sure that they treat them well. We have kids, we have grandkids, some still babies. So this is why it hurts to see them crossing.
Es lo que más nos duele de verlos cruzar.
You saw it. They were 7 or 8 years old. This is why we're here.
Y esa es una de las principales razones que estamos envueltos en esto.
The bus arrives to carry the young parents and their kids to the closest detention center.
Que Dios me los bendiga. Ahí nos vemos en la estación.
At least 150,000 asylum seekers with children have been caught in the past weeks and are being held under custody. A big challenge for the current administration.
Yo siento que él como quiera está.
I feel that Biden wants to move forward and solve the problem because there are so many that have to be processed and at the same time make sure that they finally arrive in a safe place.
Seguro.
Because safety is one of the main reasons that force them to escape from places where criminal activity is part of their everyday life. Cameras are not allowed inside the detention center. Even basic information about the number of immigrants and how long they are being detained is not released. But pictures taken by a Democratic congressman show that the conditions inside are terrible, especially for kids. The Republican Party is using this as a political tool against the Biden administration and his party. They are also portraying immigrants as a national security threat. Once released, it's volunteers like Rachel who guide them. Some young asylum seekers are being held in custody over the legal limit of 72 hours. All this after an epic journey. It was an odyssey, suffering from hunger, thirst. I hope the sacrifice was worth it. A doubt that quickly becomes a smile, since their new life is already starting.
Chicken. Chicken, all right.
Okay, so with that being said, the story kind of, went into a little bit of the what's going on currently at the border, but it didn't really go into some of the things I want to hit on when we're talking about this topic. I want to first start with Joe. I feel like people aren't going to agree with me when I say this, but I think that Joe pulled the classic, I'm the president, you're the vice president. I don't want to get hurt by this, so I'm going to push this topic onto you because I'm failing right now. So he pushes it onto Kamala Harris's lap. With that being said, I think that's Biden saying, I don't know what the hell to do with this at this point. This is out of my control. I don't know what the hell to do with it. So I'm going to push it on Kamala, and if it succeeds, yay us. If it fails, then it's on Kamala. I feel like that's what I want to address first. What do you feel like that move is all about, pushing that onto Harris's lap?
It's obvious that he didn't realize what was going to happen when he uttered the word that he wanted the open border. When they started taking that action, he did not realize how bad this was going to get. So, yeah, I agree with you. I think he pushed that off onto somebody else because he don't know what to do. He don't know how to handle it.
Did they say 150,000 over the last week, or am I mixing two numbers up? I feel like they said like 150,000. But mind you, they may not be in cages, but those pictures that they were showing, these little kids are laying on fucking sheets of plastic.
Well, one of the issues that I have are, that report said that these people are getting over here so that they can start the process as soon as possible.
Right. So these are people that have come through a port of entry to do it the correct way are getting pushed to the side. Well, that's interesting too, because I was sitting there watching that and I noticed, because my first question was going to be, why didn't they just drive them back over the border immediately?
Right.
But they were taken to the detention centers, and then they showed I guess it was the next day where they were taking them over to the immigration center. Now, are these how people who are actually trying to enter the U.S. legally being treated as well?
That I don't know. To my knowledge, it is a different process if you go through a port of entry.
Okay.
My knowledge, they take your name, they take your information, and you remain in Mexico until they go through everything and you're actually brought in.
Nessa here says they said 150,000 over the last weeks. Forgive me if this is a dumb question, but what are they exactly seeking asylum from? I'm assuming that's a general term in this case, where they're seeking asylum from the shitty conditions that are in these South American countries, correct?
Yeah, because I don't know of any wars going on. I mean, I'll plead ignorance on that.
Right.
But that's a good question.
I mean, once again, we took down the fencing, but we put up plastic. Like, I don't know. Something just occurred to me. Maybe they have to have that up because of COVID. I'm not looking for an excuse because it still just looks shitty as hell. Get some motherfucking cots in the damn thing or something. Shit. Like, that kid laying on a piece of plastic to sleep absolutely broke my damn heart. And is just as unacceptable as what the Republicans were doing. As we've talked before, though, this goes further back than Trump, Obama, Bush, Clinton, and probably all the way back to even Reagan and maybe further back than that. Matt Hawk, what'd you think of the video? And the first question I asked is, do you think Biden giving Kamala the reins over this southern border issue, do you think that's him pushing the buck into her lap because he doesn't know what the hell else to do? So he says, hey, if you fail, it's not on me anymore.
Be honest, I didn't think about that now. I'm sorry, I missed the video that you played. I had to yell at the gremlins and tell them to pedal harder for the internet connection up here. I don't know what's going on. I mean, he did call her the president last week, right? Wasn't it something like that in a news article? press conference or something.
Yeah.
My big thing is all right. So two big questions I have. One,
Uh-oh.
Well, I got a question. Where'd he go?
I know, right? It's like the CIA's listening to us. Or as Sean would say, the one guy in Cummins.
Well, he's gone. I'd like to point out that reporter, I thought it was very funny that she pointed out that Republicans are using those photos as a political tool.
Well,
But
I mean, so did
Democrats were doing the same thing when Trump were in office.
The only difference between the two images is one's a cage and one's a fucking piece of plastic.
Yeah.
Both of them are shitty conditions, and we need to improve that. Let's be honest.
I mean, I just found that very hilarious that they want to push that narrative of the evil Republicans.
Right. Mad Hawk, I apologize. I guess your internet cut out again.
I guess the cancel culture finally got me for at least 5 minutes. Manic took the words right out of my mouth. Like, I find this whole thing, now the shoe is on the other foot. So now you guys are saying it's a problem, and everything that you're doing and not paying attention to it and laughing about it seems like everything that they cried about the Republicans doing is exactly what they're doing.
Well, and let's be honest here. As much as we bash Trump and his administration for what they did, which, once again, don't get me wrong, I'm not letting Trump off the hook for what happened at the southern border under his watch, because it was absolutely appalling. But with that being said, we're, 90 days into the Biden administration. The question I have is, when is the fucking honeymoon over? Like, I'm ready to start going after Biden on this. This is absolutely unacceptable.
They're Democrats and they're buddies with the media. So, I mean, the honeymoon will never be over for them.
For me, the honeymoon was over the day he officially took office.
Well, I mean, and I completely think that there's a good, at least a good 4-week grace period there, because you got to hit the ground running and you got to, know what the fuck you're doing. But I give you a 4-week ramp up. At this point, we just passed, I think, 2 or 3 months into his administration, and we've seen zero from him besides these executive actions, which we've all talked, really, they mean nothing, and Corona and stimulus. That's it. Good on you. I'm proud of you. I got a new couch sitting in my motherfucking living room because you gave me that stimulus check. I'm happy for you. Good on you.
What did you expect? What did you expect to come from a president who has never really done anything with any other political position he's held?
You can't say he hasn't done anything. I mean, didn't he help to pass a bill to make sure black people got arrested easier or something like that?
Something like that, yeah. But that's what the one out of all of his time in office, holding a political office, that's the one thing that he did.
Prior to his administration. Yeah. You're talking about back in his congressional days.
Yes.
Oh yeah.
I thought you were talking about his president. I was about to say, damn.
No, president can't make anything real happen.
Well, I mean, very true, but I mean, he hasn't. Let's be honest. I understand with COVID, but when is the State of the Union usually held? Like, I need you to get out front and say something about, here's what we're going to work on for the next year. Like, I feel like, are we overdue for the State of the Union already? Like, I feel like it should be in the March.
Yeah, I feel like it normally falls like a couple months.
I may be wrong.
Somebody out there, I don't have enough internet to look it up. I was going to say, somebody Google, when is the State of the Union normally held?
Because, I mean, he hasn't even come out and said, okay, here's the legislation that we're waiting on. Here's what we have sitting at Congress's feet right now. We have nothing besides a January 6th commission, which we'll get into this here in the next topic, but congressional Democrats are fucking up.
You're correct. It's usually done by February 20th.
Yeah, February 20th.
But of course, the fact checkers have gotten on that, and they said there's no annual requirement for it.
Come on now.
That's a cop-out.
That is.
There's the media covering their friends' butts.
When was the last time we didn't have a State of the Union? If anybody's watching this and I'm making a bigger deal out of this than what it is, I can't remember the last year we went without a State of the Union, because I'm pretty sure Trump gave one all 4 years. I'm confident Obama did, and I know Bush did. So
a couple of weeks ago, what did he say on PBS when he addressed the nation? I know it wasn't a formal State of the Union, but
wasn't that just wasn't that basically in honor of the 1-year anniversary of Corona and where we are and where everything stands?
Okay.
I think that's all that was for, was to talk about COVID and where we are, which we'll get into that here in a minute.
Let's just cut to the chase. Biden clearly is not going to be a speaking president. Everything that we get fed from him is going to come secondhand. It's just the way it is. Well, or if he does speak, it's going to be very quick news clips.
Let's not skip over that fact, because that's something that is a very good point. We just got a guy out because his relations with the media were kind of tense. Biden's not talking shit about the media. He's just not talking to the fucking media. That's also a problem.
Therefore, he's not talking to the people.
I mean, well, and really, the media is gonna say whatever he tells them to say. So why is he gonna complain about it? And why talk to him when you can just, hey, go say this for me? So
here's the question I have, though. We all know that Biden isn't Obama. Biden isn't Clinton. He isn't this great orator. He's more, I compare him more to Bush at this point as far as his ability to speak. Now, Bush was a little bit simple and Biden's a little bit old, but so two different reasons. But I mean, I've never really paid much attention to the people who talk shit about Biden, but I've seen over the past week some clips of Biden since he's taken office where he'll lose his train of thought. And I'm just like, Joe, come on now. I can't have you doing this. Nessa says, I have no sympathy for the people at the border. Asylum is for tyrannical leaders and war. Shitty living conditions and high crime rates are issues to be solved by the country's government. When we no longer have people who fought for our country sleeping on sidewalks, then we can talk about where illegal immigrants are going to sleep. I can't agree with your statement in theory, but we talked about this last week, Manny. At a certain point, I would like to see our government tell their government, hey, hold up your fucking end of the bargain. I'm going to need you to do something about it. Like, I haven't seen.
And I had shared that story that Mexico was already starting to step in and try to stop a large groups of people coming through like that.
Well, and I've done some, after our talk last week, I've done some looking into it, and a lot of these guys aren't coming from Mexico any longer. So the question is, if we put pressure on Mexico to do better, maybe somebody who isn't as terse or, has a little bit more tact, like a Biden, or hell, even like our Secretary of State, can go in there and say in a little bit more polite terms, hey, motherfucker, let's get this shit done. I'm going to need you to, we can only help you so much. It's like a parent talking to a child. I'm willing to go this far for you, but you're going to have to hold up your end too. That's where I think we need to look at this right now.
Depends on what kind of parent you're looking at.
Because we won't solve anything, absolutely anything, without addressing the key root issue. And the key root issue is these living conditions and these gangs and these, the mafia or whatever is running these drug cartels and shit that are running these countries that these people are fleeing from. Until they address that and take care of the issue, we're still going to have people fleeing no matter what. You can do anything, but you won't stop the flow. So you need to stop the flow. That's the quickest way I think you can fix immigration, is by causing them to address the issues that are causing the immigration.
Just because we tell them that they need to fix something doesn't mean they're going to jump in and start fixing it.
True. Mad Hawk?
I was just sorry, I was reading this comment here by
Okay.
Virgil Rothwell. The State of the Union messages were started yearly by Franklin Roosevelt per wikipedia.org and typically done in the first 3 weeks of January. So
we're way behind at this point. Thank you, Virgil.
thank you for fact checking the fact checkers.
I mean, and it may not be a yearly requirement, but let's be honest. One of the things I did like about the Obama administration is how transparent he was. He would be on the, when he first took over, he would have almost, I think it was Carter that would do the weekly addresses in the chats, and he would be speaking directly to the American people. When Obama first took over, that's what he did. Like, maybe I gave Biden too much credit that Obama would rub off on him, but this is like easy layups that the Biden administration is missing, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Well, damn. I got it.
I mean, there's no disagreement there. And, I don't know. The whole border crisis, I'm sad to see it. Absolutely. We don't want to see any human in that condition. But on the other hand, what's the easiest way to stop the flow of illegal immigrants into your country? I don't know. Maybe a wall?
We'll see. And once again, I'm not even going there. Fuck the wall. I don't think the wall is where you're still going to have people trying. You're going to have people running into that fucking wall and dying if they have to. I'm more of
speaking about that. Does anybody? Because I've wondered and I've read a lot of stories about this. The southern border and everything. What exactly do they mean when they say the word expel?
Expel?
Like I've heard, that they said, Biden came out and said that children under the age of whatever will not be expelled and told to go back. What does expel mean? I mean, because expel could mean like expelled from the earth.
Well, I assume removed from the country.
Right.
That's what
I'm allowing them to stay.
Yeah, but
what is happening to the ones that are being expelled?
I mean, I'll say this much too. I don't think y'all will agree with me, and let's be honest, there's not much that can be done, but we saw what can be done. There's a trial that started today with people just keeping people accountable. I kind of am happy that there are individuals that are willing to volunteer their time to go down there and, watch and make sure that these people at the southern border are held accountable as well. I haven't heard too many things about people being abused at the southern border besides obviously the living conditions, though. So, I mean, maybe there's something I'm not hearing about as far as these border patrol agents being abusive, and that's why they felt the need to go out there. Nessa says he couldn't remember the word deported. Yeah. I mean, we laugh, but it's getting kind of sad at this point how much Joe's mind is slipping. And I voted for the man. Like, Joe, come on now, bro. You got a teleprompter. Use it.
Right.
Shit.
It's like you ever seen the bit by the late great Robin Williams? I think it's from his Live on Broadway where he's talking about Joe Biden. Oh, you'll have to look that up. It's obviously back when he was still in Congress or something, but it's hilarious. It's been circling around a lot on TikTok lately.
And I mean, the sad part about it is I make fun of him for his mind slipping, and that's where we've gone now. I remember back in 2008 when him and President Obama, or at that point Senator Obama, were running for office. People actually didn't like the Biden choice because he was such a live wire and he was liable to say something stupid. So now he just can't remember what the fuck he was going to say. Sketchy Peasant says, these people are humans just like you all. They are hurting and need help. America is the best country in the world, and that's why they are coming here. There needs to be more empathy. I completely agree. I'm empathetic. It's ridiculous what these detention centers look like. It's absolutely unacceptable. Like I said, I'm empathetic to the point that we need to address the root cause of this issue. But at the same time, as much as I'm willing to give a pathway to citizenship as well, like Manny pointed out before many times with me when we talk about this, there are people that just won't fucking do that. So those are the people that I would say need to be taken out. Virgil,
it is not our country's responsibility to police the world, and it is not our country's responsibility to provide a safe haven for everybody that wants to come over here.
Very true.
I have always stated we need to fix the problems inside of our borders first.
Absolutely.
We have so many homeless and needy that are citizens of this United States that need to be helped.
Virgil says they are breaking the law by crossing the border. There are so many others that have come in legally and taken the test to become U.S. citizens, and they should be turned back across the border in whatever other countries they are coming in from. Nessa says was the best country. Yes, they need help, but our own need help first. Completely agree with both of those statements. Virgil, the only thing I would dissipate on that is I do think that it needs to be a little bit easier. We need to lax, not necessarily the test or anything, but we need to remove any sort of financial implications to become a citizen of this country. I think that's asinine.
Seems like a money grab by the government, but I mean, isn't that what the government has always done?
True.
And really, let's find out, like, what I would love to know, because this has always been a topic of discussion and one that I've gotten involved in. I would like to know exactly, and I know we have, illegal people and all, but how much assistance can somebody get from immigrating into the U.S. right off the bat? Hey, you're here in the U.S., whether you're here illegally or not, this is what we can do to help you. I would like to find out the exact number of that.
Right. Very true. And let's be honest, there are various ways to become a legalized, not necessarily citizen, but to become over here legally without becoming a citizen as well. I think those should still be open as well, like ITIN numbers, et cetera, et cetera. Sketchy says, nobody said that, but understand why they are coming here. If you were in their shoes, your family would do the same. That's a tough disagreement.
If-then statements or if-then statements.
I'm not in that situation.
Marvel has a whole comic line about what if.
Very true. Very true. I mean, and that's another situation, kind of like the president, where, unless you're sitting in that situation, can you really say what you do? Can you really say what you do? It's just one of those things. Okay. We'll get off of the southern border here and move on to the second topic for the night, 2022, and the potential for Nancy Pelosi's leadership role to be in jeopardy. So I know the story that we were looking at for this topic involves people choosing not to run for re-election and talking about the people that are redistricting and how everything's going to play out. I say this, as of right now, the Democrats are their own worst enemy for 2022. The reason why I say that, the same reason why I'm attacking the Biden administration tonight. They've done absolutely nothing. We've got a dog and pony show about January 6th and this Capitol riot, but we have gotten absolutely nothing as far as meaningful legislation. Where was all this talk back in the summer about the things we're going to pass to help minorities? We're dealing with, law enforcement. Where the hell is it? You have both chambers. You have 3 run. Where the hell is it? You want to talk about universal health care, even though I'm not a proponent of the universal health care necessarily. Where the hell is it? I would take somebody literally just pushing a piece of paper saying, hey, this is a bill and let's vote on it to fucking get something moving. Like, they are literally doing nothing. I don't understand what's going on right now, and that is what I feel like will cost them in 2022 unless somebody steps on the landmine.
This right here tells me that you have not bothered to watch the 2 movies I have told you need to see.
I'm trying to, bro, you got to remember, I have ADHD. So
Yeah, that was
we have
totally
two
last
movies.
year.
We have two
The
movies.
Distinguished Gentleman with Eddie Murphy.
I remember you telling me about that one.
Watch that one. And Bullworth with Warren Beatty.
I don't remember Bullworth. As a matter of fact, right now I'll put those in my notes because I have just about every streaming platform known to man. So I'm sure I could find it somewhere.
I'm telling you, man, Bullworth, I mean, he basically tells the people that we gave you lip service. We told you what you wanted to hear.
Bullworth with one L or two?
Two.
Okay, cool.
Bullworth, but it's one word.
Okay, cool. I got him. Okay. Yeah, I mean, and I should have known. I figured there was a lot of lip service going on because, to be honest, Republicans give you lip service as to what they're going to do. Democrats do the same. Nobody in Washington gives a shit about you, me, or Mad Hawk here. But, right. I mean, this is literally, once again, I remember when I was a kid, they had the Do Nothing Congress. Good Lord, this is literally the Do Nothing Congress. Like, are they sitting there twiddling their thumbs for 8 hours a day? What? I haven't even seen, like at this point, I said that they shouldn't be coming out swinging. They aren't coming out doing nothing. Like, they're not. I don't understand it. Manny, I'll let you go ahead and talk about this. And
that's the thing. There's nothing to talk about. They are doing nothing. They're not pushing bills. They're not trying to curb any of the issues that are starting to plague our society these days. They want to sit back and look like they're helping, but they're doing nothing.
There was all this talk back in the summer. Well, if we had the majority, we'd get
House and
law enforcement changes brought. There hasn't been any meaningful law enforcement changes brought about. There hasn't been anything done. And once again, I realize we're only 60 days in, but we're 60 days in at this point. We're almost through the first 100 days and nothing has been done. We're over halfway through the first 100 days.
They wanted to defund the police, and then they realized, oh, that only creates more criminals.
We'll talk about that here in a little bit, too. Virgil, I completely agree. I mean, and it's both sides. The Democrats will blame the Republicans, and the Republicans will blame the Democrats. So, I mean, that's just politics for you. But I've never seen somebody literally sit on their hands the way this has happened. Mad Hawk, Congress now has an
at this point, and you can call this a conspiracy theory, whatever. One thing that I'll point out for sure that I personally feel, this is my own personal feel, no credibility towards it, whatever. But I always have felt like, especially with the Democrats, they are great artists at saying, hey, look over here while we do something over here and pass a secret bill.
Is that the Democrats, or once again, is it politics in general?
Well, I mean, you could go with that, but I have seen that it seems to have happened more by the liberals and Democrats taking advantage of that than the Republicans, in my personal opinion. If somebody has some other evidence, send it to me. Prove me wrong, I'm glad to look at it. But right now, nothing is happening. Now, the second part of that is, and we had talked about it earlier, we do have the case going on with George Floyd right now, and I think everybody in the nation is looking to see how that's going to turn out, because whatever way that turns out, there's going to be something that happens, and something big.
You're absolutely right. I mean, we're talking about, I don't think that they can fuck this up, but we're talking about 12 people who, everybody thought they couldn't fuck up OJ. So, I mean, we'll see what happens there. This seems like a slam dunk.
I feel like the boiling pot is about to boil over.
I'll say this. I will only be pissed off if he walks out. I feel like there is too much evidence for him not to get a conviction. Whether it be second-degree murder, third-degree, or manslaughter, there is enough evidence there for at least manslaughter. if not third degree. Second degree, you're going to have to prove intent. But third degree and manslaughter, I feel like there's enough there for one of the two. If that, I'll only be pissed off if he walks out.
But back to the topic at hand, as far as Nancy Pelosi's leadership role, I definitely think it is in jeopardy, along with several other Democratic politicians.
I don't think that it's just Nancy, though. Like, I think Nancy I think Nancy is a dying breed, but I think it's the whole Democratic what's the word I'm looking for? Control over the Senate and the House. I mean, I'm going to be honest. We could see a red wave if this continues. For a couple reasons. Let's be honest. Republicans always outperform in midterm elections because there's no president on the ballot, and people don't care unless there's a president on the ballot, as sad as it is to say. And two, because they're doing nothing. Once again, I said this, we're going to have to try to work together. We're going to have to try to come together and heal this country. And nobody's done anything, let alone try to heal anybody. Like, it's absolutely asinine what we've seen from Washington over the past 60 days. Everybody was like, oh, you give us Georgia, you give us these last 2 seats in Georgia, and we get control of everything. You're going to see what we're able to do. We're going to be so awesome. Here we are 60 days in and not shit's getting done.
This is their awesome.
I mean, it must be, because I would hope that a lot more would be done at this point than what. But to go back to the topic, like you said, Manny, I don't think it's just Nancy that's in trouble. I think she is part of the dying breed because she's not necessarily as extreme as the extreme left sect of the Democratic Party. That's why I think she is part of a dying breed, but I think they could lose their whole majorities.
Yes. And I'm looking forward to that.
Is this still a result of draining the swamp?
I don't know that it's necessarily going to be the drain in the swamp. I think it's going to be cause and effect. It's going to be, we gave y'all the keys for 2 years. We gave y'all the keys to every piece of government we have, and you did nothing with it. I don't know necessarily that it's the swamp as much as you're just going to piss people off by doing nothing. The people that were energized to go out and vote for Joe Biden in 2020, and therefore everybody else rode the coattails of Biden, are going to sit at home because they don't have that igniting factor anymore, in my opinion. Lord knows, I pray we don't have another George Floyd between now and the midterms, or at all any longer. But the Democrats better hope that happens. And I mean, Virgil here is bringing up some things here, including the Georgia bill that, I feel like that could be partially an igniting point, even though it really only affects Georgia. That voter ID bill is getting a lot of attention right now. So real quick, I guess, while seeing how Virgil's talking about it here in the comments, go ahead and give your thoughts on that Georgia voter ID law that just got passed.
I think that as that is happening, more of these states are going to follow suit.
I think Arkansas already has. I could be wrong.
Yeah. If I'm not mistaken, they do.
Concerning George Floyd, the police are trained to hold the guy down in this manner. From what I've heard, he died from choking on his own vomit and was high. Virgil, no police training, and any of the police on social media will tell you that you are not supposed to put your knee on the back of a gentleman's neck. That is not.
Well, regardless of where the knee was, it doesn't matter if he is high or not.
Right.
That is not a killing offense. Number two, anytime that you have to hold somebody down for that long while they're cuffed, maybe you need to be retrained.
Right, absolutely. Sketchy Peasant also said Republicans in the Senate during the Trump administration only confirmed federal judges and did not worry about any of the issues affecting the American people. Lobbyists have more power than individuals. I agree with the last sentence in that statement. I don't think that Congress, I think this is the first time that I can remember that it feels like Washington is standing still. Like, unless I'm mistaken, except for confirming people, what has the Congress done?
And what issues were really around during the Trump administration?
I mean,
it could have took care of
outside of them trying to impeach him all the time.
Right.
The biggest thing that affects laws, really the only thing that affects laws is the House, and that was Democrat ran. True.
Nessa says, regardless if they are trained in that manner or not, or if they are high or not, continuing to hold them down while they are joking is brutality and murder. My best friend was murdered by the police in the same manner. I think we all agree, just like we did back in the summer, that something needs to be addressed, and we'll figure it out. And while we're here, we might as well talk about this. Next topic. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Sorry, I just want to say, because I can tell that this is already going to be a hot topic, and I think with the trial just starting today, while I definitely want to hear everybody's topic, if you all agree, we should definitely make it a topic on next week's show and see where everything stands, and invite everybody back, and please tell your friends, because it sounds like it's. I'd love to hear what everybody has to say.
We're definitely.
Yeah, I already had it earmarked to put on next week.
I have a feeling
it's
going to be the hot leading topic for a number of weeks here for the next few weeks.
Right.
Said the Senate wouldn't take up any bills passed by the House. The Senate worried about their own agenda. That's politics, though, Sketch. I gotta say that's politics. You'll see Democrats stonewall Republican bills all the time too. It's unfortunate, but it's politics. Okay, so the next topic is, did the defund the police movement hurt Democrats in 2020, and will it in 2022? We have a story from The Guardian. It's actually a story from President Obama, who thinks that it will and did hurt the Democrats in these elections. So here we go.
If you believe, as I do, that we should be able to reform the criminal justice system so that it's not biased and treats everybody fairly, I guess you can use a snappy slogan like defund the police, but you know you've lost a big audience the minute you say it, which makes it a lot less likely that you're actually going to get the changes you want done. But if you instead say, let's reform the police department so that everybody's being treated fairly, divert young people from getting into crime. And if there's a homeless guy, maybe we send a mental health worker there instead of an armed unit that could end up resulting in a tragedy. Suddenly, a whole bunch of folks who might not otherwise listen to you are listening to you. So the key is deciding, do you want to actually get something done, or do you want to feel good among the people you already agree with? And if you want to get something done in a democracy, in a country as big and diverse as ours, then you've got to be able to meet people where they are and play a game of addition and not subtraction.
Okay, so I'm probably about to lose my Republican card here, but I will say this. That man is so fucking intelligent. Like, the way he just explained that is exactly what I'm going to say on this. The mistake is the way they said it, and saying it in a way that wasn't what they meant. Saying defund the police turns people off automatically. But the way he just explained it, I believe if they would have brought it to the table and come up with a catchy slogan for the way he said it, it would have made so much more. And it wouldn't have been such a big deal as what it is, and so divisive as what it is today. Because you wouldn't have the people, the back the blue people or what have you saying, oh my God, yeah, we gotta support the police. I still support law enforcement. What I don't support is the mistreatment of individuals based upon their color, their mental health issues, what have you. I think we've all agreed on this show. that the problem is the wording, defund the police. And yes, I do think it will hurt them going forward unless they change the narrative now. Manny?
Yeah, even back when Sean was on here, that was one of the few things that we did agree about, that it doesn't need to be defunded. You need to reallocate those funds so that more is spent in training. Because when it takes longer for you to become an electrician, or longer for you to become a plumber, or longer for you to become a hairstylist than it does to become a police officer, there is an issue.
Absolutely.
You're going to have a bunch of people running around with a badge that makes them feel like they can do what they want to do, and a gun that tells them that they don't have to listen to anybody, and a taser that gives them an excuse to be bullies.
Mm-hmm. I absolutely
and not know what they're supposed to be doing.
I agree. I want to clear up some of these comments here. Virgil asked that you, Manny, is your daughter's birthday tomorrow? So is his wife's, just a few years earlier than hers. Is your daughter's birthday tomorrow?
No, it was back on the 23rd.
Yeah, I was about to say, I thought
2
it
days
was
before me.
Okay, right.
Hers is 23rd, mine's 25th.
Okay. Sketch says, defund the police does not mean abolish the police. Defund the police means take their funds from their overblown budgets and allocate the funds towards rehabilitation and services to aid the people. Virgil says, defund the police and bring in a psychoanalyst to talk to the guy that already killed 10 people, and then a psychoanalyst will be the 11th. Make a whole lot of sense when someone is breaking into your house that you have to call a psychoanalyst. So, Virgil, I will say I don't think you listened to President Obama when he said that. He made a very clear statement. Whenever it's not a violent situation and you can handle it with somebody that is trained in mental health services, if this person is suffering from mental health issues, that's when you use them. Obviously, don't use them in this situation. Go ahead, Matt Hawk.
I just wanted to interrupt there and say real quick and from personal experience, I don't want to get into it too much, but with someone that does have mental issues, especially if they ever have had an angry outburst with those mental issues, in all complete honesty, every time a police officer is called to be in a situation like that, they should be expecting it to be violent, because at any point it can turn that way very quickly.
Yes, but one of the things I want to point out is the city of Hot Springs has cruisers that go around that their specific job is to take care of traffic accidents. So you could also have specialized officers that only handle domestic abuse. Leave criminal matters up to another group of officers. But at the end of the day, it goes back to the amount of training these people get. You don't need to take money from them. You just need to reallocate their funds to include more training.
But I think, I guess, getting back to the actual question at hand here, Matt Hawk, do you think the wording of defund the police is what's hurting the Democratic Party, or do you just not agree with the movement even when it's explained in better detail?
Yeah, I mean, first off, I guess, and this is just my apologies, I gotta figure out what's going on with this, so I didn't get to hear the whole clip. I didn't get to hear any of it.
You're fine.
As far as the whole movement goes, whether it's worded or in what you all are talking about, sounds absolutely like, reformatting the police, restructuring the police. Anything would sound better. I can absolutely agree. If that is an actual fact, that it takes more training to become an electrician than it does to become a police officer. Sure, let's start up a police study course at your local community college where they train you to police and on different, scenarios and whatever. Totally, I'm for that. But to come out and say defund the police, that makes it sound like the 800,000 people that are sworn in as a police officer in the U.S., you're trying to take their paycheck from.
I absolutely agree, and that's why I don't like I don't like the wording. The wording is where you're getting caught, and I understand there was a lot of anger after the George Floyd situation. I understand that, and I understand that probably the first person that screamed it probably meant "fuck the police, let's get rid of them." But afterwards, we should have came back. When tensions were, when emotions were calmed down, we should have came back and said, okay, we don't mean get rid of police force. We don't mean any of that. What we mean is we need to reallocate the funds, get rid of the weapons of war that these people are getting, and put that money towards something that they need. Another thing that we've talked about before on here, I think that they need better psychoanalysts that are putting these people through the ringers, because a lot of cops are military veterans, and what's prevalent in the veteran community? PTSD. And you're just putting a ignitable situation that it's unfortunate.
And it's not just that, it's other people that feel entitled to their position and feel that because they have a badge that they're always right. You've got a lot of people that just have a large ego, and it shows once they put that uniform on.
Absolutely.
But let me ask you this. What's to say that those same people that are the bullies, if we did have schools for it and stuff, aren't going to go say, all right, I'll go pay the $50,000 to learn how to become a cop and get a badge and a gun and be able to be Mr. Big Man on the totem pole? How would we weed those people out still?
Well, I would hope the training would. I would hope that the training, just like in basic training with the military, it would teach you to work as a team, and there's something greater than your own ego, so to speak. And, it would train it out. Are you going to get everybody? Are you going to reach everybody? No, there's going to be knuckleheads everywhere, and those knuckleheads will be dealt with. That's another thing that we need to worry about, is dealing with the knuckleheads. We need to get rid of this thought that, police who fuck up need to be protected. We need to get rid of that.
Yeah.
If you commit a crime or you do something out of protocol, you need to be punished, whether that be suspended or all the way up to charges being pressed.
And these other officers that try to cover up for their friends need to be dealt with as well.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
And I think
don't get me wrong. I'm not saying there's not dirty cops out there. I mean, I hate to say this, and trust me, like it doesn't make it okay, because you're talking about the difference of people that have lost their life because of bad apples. But in everything you do, there's always a bad apple in every group.
Well, and I wouldn't disagree with that. I mean, the LAPD, back when we were talking about OJ, I mean, Mark Furman was a bad apple, let's be honest. And he single-handedly cost Nicole Brown Simpson and God bless, I forget the poor other gentleman's name. I always do. But anyway, got off their killer, or who we believe is their killer, I guess I should say.
Houston just won 67.
Houston just won? Okay, right on. I knew it was getting close. So it's one of those things that I think we all agree. Another requirement, I would say, as hard as this would be, but you should definitely, in the military, I know that they look at your social media accounts. It should be the same way in the police. If we go back and do a deep dive, there's no reason why we should be able to find these athletes said these, racial statements 12 years ago, and a police government agency couldn't. If you have that in your file, you need to be disqualified, or you need to, be on some sort of probation and go through a training for that. I mean, there's so many things that could be done to, like President Obama said, though, at the end of the day, the answer to this question, yes. The wording defund the police is abysmal, and they need to fix it.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right. We're at an hour.
Yeah, we're already at an hour. Holy crap. Well, let's see. We don't have any comments, so we'll go ahead and move on to the next topic. AstraZeneca is in some trouble, and I didn't know about this till you sent us the story. But we actually have a story from the National here that we can go off of.
Inside that vial, a shot at ending the pandemic. But as vaccines keep rolling out, AstraZeneca is hitting bumps in the road once more.
What they have done time and time again is continue to shoot themselves in the foot.
Just yesterday, AstraZeneca boasted in a press release that its vaccine is 79% effective at preventing symptomatic COVID-19 and 100% effective against severe or critical disease. Trouble is, that message may have included outdated information, according to the U.S. Data and Safety Monitoring Board.
They got concerned and wrote a rather harsh note to them and with a copy to me.
The focus is AstraZeneca's U.S. Phase 3 trial data. The drug maker hasn't revealed what details are under scrutiny, but said today it hopes to disclose more data in the next 48 hours.
We're not quite sure what that outdated information is. So it's hard to evaluate from the outside how concerned we should be.
It's not the first time the company very publicly faces such questions. An initial lack of clinical data on seniors was later resolved. Then there were reports of rare blood clots. Regulators are still investigating but say there's no increased risk. Now this, the latest issue prompting Health Canada to again say,
at this point in time, we, of course, believe that the benefits of the AstraZeneca vaccine continue to outweigh the risks.
At this Toronto pharmacy, they're giving the AstraZeneca shot, and they're fully booked.
People were really hesitant with all the media about the blood clots and things that are happening in Europe, but I think now they're more comfortable with it.
I'm reassured everything's going to be fine.
With a vaccine rollout monitored this closely and carefully, there could yet be more scrutiny. The world is counting on those shots. Thomas Dagg, CBC News, Toronto.
Okay, now we have infectious diseases specialist Dr. Susie Hoda joining us. So what's your bottom line? Let's start with AstraZeneca. Do you have any doubts as to whether it is safe or effective?
Listen, I kind of see this as a series of communication mishaps that have been unfortunate with AstraZeneca. And, you know, this latest one, as far as I can tell, doesn't show any problems with new safety concerns. And I find that a little bit reassuring. It looks like it's more around the efficacy estimates from this latest clinical trial. So, you know, I think it's important to recognize it doesn't change what we've already learned about this vaccine, which supports that it's a perfectly good option for Canadians in terms of safety and efficacy.
And what about the 4 month?
Okay, cool. They're getting into Canadians. Anyway, with that being said, real quick, I want to go back to a comment that happened while the video was on. George says, but what is the cutoff? According to some, a photo of you wearing a MAGA hat makes you a racist. I think that any political statement should be, no, that's not a racist thing, in my opinion. Okay. Topic at hand, AstraZeneca is under fire. So I'm going to be honest with you. Until this story, I was fine with whatever vaccine the VA wanted to give me. I was ready to get her done whenever they open them up. Now I'm pretty much where I want to get the Moderna. The Moderna came out today. I sent the story over as 90% effective. It's the best numbers I've seen. That's the one I think I'm going to try to go with if I have an option in it. AstraZeneca just looks like it is proving some things. AstraZeneca, I believe, was the first one on the market, and I believe it's kind of proven some things that maybe it was rushed along a little bit.
And that's always been my concern with the entire process. It seems like every vaccine had been rushed just to get it out there because everybody was so worried about it.
Right. And luckily we've gotten lucky with the Moderna that it is 90% effective, which, I mean, 79% effective compared to the 90 that Moderna is boasting. Yeah, that's some pretty shitty numbers in my opinion. So I wouldn't be bragging about that. And that makes my confidence drop even lower, not to mention the fact that it was based off outdated data. That's a problem. Right. Matt Hawk?
I'm at a loss for words on it. Honestly, as far as the whole entire... So here's one question that I want to come out with, and I have not been keeping up a lot on all the vaccines, so I apologize. But number one, the current vaccines that are out, do they even have anything that's supposed to help against, what are we on now, the fourth wave I read today of coronavirus starting to make its way around?
So what I read today, and this is just news breaking over the weekend, I believe, the CDC is saying that while it can protect you against COVID-19, it cannot protect others. So you could still become a carrier of the COVID-19 virus, kind of like strep throat. You can become a carrier and not get sick, but you can give it to somebody else who's unvaccinated.
I understand that. I mean, that's been the thing, even if you're for a while, even if you're not vaccinated, that some people get it and don't ever develop any symptoms, but can still give it to other people. What I mean, though, is these new mutated strains that they're supposedly talking about. I was reading a news article earlier, and I can try and find it again if I need to, but it was saying that like a fourth wave of the coronavirus has started showing up in Europe, or swept through Europe, and now it's starting to show up in Florida with the spring breakers down. And so I didn't hear you all, but that's basically my question is where I'm at with it is, why am I going to go get a vaccine right now that, okay, yeah, it protects me against one of the supposed coronaviruses, but there's 3 other mutations that it doesn't protect me against. And number 2, I've been a delivery driver. I've been out in lots of different things throughout the whole entire last year. There have been times where if somebody should have caught coronavirus, it should have been me. And I didn't. I just don't believe it's as contagious as everybody says it. Is it deadly? Yes, absolutely. But I don't think it's as big as it's blown up to be.
And I'll say this, we're all three kind of congested in the wrestling business. I'll say this. I think I'm the only one that tested positive, correct? Mainly tested positive, correct? Okay, so
no.
I'm the only one that ended up catching it. I think it's one of those situations. It has to be right place, right time type of situations. I don't think that if you just come in contact with somebody that it's going to be 100% you're catching that shit. You may catch it too and not even know you have it. Honestly, when I caught it, I even told the lady when I ordered the test, I said, I think I just got allergies, but what the hell, I'll do it anyway. And then when they called me for the test, I was like, hey, are you sure you want me to come in? Because I really think this is allergies. Sure enough, I tested positive. You know, I realized I got lucky as hell with it. It still sucked. I mean, it was a shitty case of allergies is what I compare it to. But the thing is, I don't know what kind of numbers they're using. Like when Moderna is coming out, you know, saying that they're 90% effective. Is that 90% effective against the first strain that they originally made the vaccine for, or is that against COVID-19 period? That's an
the other problem I have with it is the antibodies. The antibodies only last for like a month, and then what?
Really?
Yeah.
I did not know that. I did not know that. I thought it was, you know, 2-shot, you know, kill all. And, you know, like I said, you're in a situation where you can still carry the shit, but you won't get sick.
Their hope is that your immune system kicks in and will protect you after that.
Well, and it, you know, I hate to say this, but it's a lot like the flu vaccine.
Right.
Right.
You know, they're going to.
That's what I was basically getting at.
They're going to end up introducing it as a, you know, live virus eventually. I think actually they have one now that is on the market that is a live virus that they're going to have you build up your immune system through. But
and that's another one I don't get when there's so many different symptoms that you get. What happens if you take this and have an adverse effect to
that's my thing.
Those symptoms?
I don't like them giving a live virus right now because you don't know how that's going to affect the person. You don't know whether you're going to get shitty allergies like I had or whether you're going to end up in the hospital on a breathing machine yet. So I don't necessarily like the idea of them having one that is a live virus at this time. I don't appreciate that part.
It's really funny to me that you say that you tested positive and you compare it to just having a really bad case of allergies. I actually went and got tested one time because I thought for sure I had it. I mean, I had the hurting throat, just the sweats. I was running, 102-degree fever. I'm like, oh, I got this thing. And I was negative for it.
I never
was just a flu.
either.
So that attributes to it even more. I mean, we have two completely opposite sides of the spectrum, both with completely opposite results that you think you would have.
And to tell you the truth, anybody that's watched this long enough knows my lungs aren't 100%. I thought for sure if I caught it, I was going to have a really bad go of it because my lungs aren't great because I used to be a smoker and now I vape. I thought, oh shit, this is going to be bad. I'm going to be honest. I got really damn emotional when they told me that I tested positive because I was like, oh damn, I'm going to die.
Right.
But,
right. Absolutely.
Which is what they pushed in the beginning, how deadly it was. And that was a big fear tactic of our government.
It was.
Of all the governments.
I think that they didn't. I think that they didn't do a good enough job of saying in extreme cases you can end up in the hospital and potentially die. I think that they did. Once again, wording is everything. They instead of saying that, they said, well, if you have these risk factors, you could be at a higher potential for a more adverse case of it. And now we're here with this, and it's looking like it's not much of anything.
I just think that there needs to be a lot more testing done before we go injecting people with these vaccines.
Absolutely. I mean, to be completely honest, like I'm not quite sure what happened to Michael, but think it this way: the PS5 just came out recently, and there's plenty of people out there that hey, we wait for the first 5 million PS5s to go out so they can work out all the kinks and everything in them, so you get the good one without having to have the errors. Why would you not do the same thing for something you're going to inject into your body?
Well, and my thing is this, I still have that thought that, what if I got lucky the first time? So I'd rather know that at least for some of it, I'm protected than, not have any sort of protection at all. I feel like once again, though, it's going to come down to, am I saying I'm going to get it every year? Absolutely not. I honestly don't get the flu shot every year, but even though it's offered to me for free. But here,
I want to point this.
We're coming to that. Go what?
I just wanted to ask you this question because you were talking about not getting it every year.
Mm-hmm.
I have seen, especially like I think it was Ticketmaster or something, are starting to advertise like concerts coming up in 2021, 2022, and their advertising must be able to show proof of vaccination to attend concert. If it does come down to that, where you have to show some proof that you've been vaccinated to shop, to go to concerts, to everything, will you or will you not?
I mean, it's not a big deal. If it's one of those situations where it's going to limit me, it's not going to be a big deal to go get poked. It's going to, but if it's not something where it's going to restrict me, then I probably will get the 2 shots and be done with it.
I think the novelty of it all will wear off fairly soon, and it'll go back to normal. I don't think they're going to start requiring that.
I think that the reason why they're requiring it right now is because it is still so prevalent.
Right.
But
right.
I think once they start knocking, and honestly, our numbers have decreased. I will give the vaccines and the healthcare workers their due. The cases here in Arkansas, at least, are way down. I think we're in the 130, new cases today, which is, a month ago we were at 1,000. So that's pretty darn good. Real quick, I want to clean up some of these comments. Nessa says, I'm curious if there are any statistics as far as the more effective vaccine being more readily available to the rich and powerful, and they'll pass the less effective AstraZeneca one for the lower class rates. That's an interesting idea. I wonder if, you know, the VA veterans and people that get this stuff for free are going to have access to the more effective one. It's a good point. Manny, any thoughts on that?
Well, if nothing else, we have seen that our government plays elitist quite well.
Very true. Matt,
so it would not surprise me at all to have the less effective vaccine go to the people that are not paying for it.
Very true. Matt Hawk?
Absolutely. I would agree with that. I wouldn't see any doubt. If you don't think that the rich and powerful and elite get something before, you know, we down on the low end get it, that's always been the way it seems to go. Whether they tell us that's how it goes or not, that's the way it goes.
I will say this much though, if we do, you know, get different breeds of this vaccine every year, I think that the most effective one on this first set of vaccines needs to be the manufacturer going forward. So if Moderna is kicking ass here at the end of this first set, like they are right now, Moderna needs to be making this vaccine before AstraZeneca or anybody else makes it.
Right, and that's honestly the way they should do things, but
they won't.
In this country, it's not like that. I mean, all these pharmaceutical companies have the money to push and buy their way into whatever they want. Even when their tests have a false or outdated information, there's nothing done.
It's absolutely, though. And I want to ask you, though, going back to my first point, do you think that this AstraZeneca vaccine getting the fire that it is, and then the one that took a little bit longer, Moderna, showing to be more effective, do you think that does speak to the conclusion I drew that maybe AstraZeneca being the first one out was the one that was rushed and they needed to take their time a little bit more?
Very possible, yes. But my point is that if you're not going to take the time to make sure that everything is what it's supposed to be, and you can put out reports with either false or outdated information, and there's nothing done to you as a company, we have another issue in this country.
Especially during a pandemic. If you're sitting there peddling a drug that is supposed to make you immune to this virus that is causing a worldwide pandemic, and you are doing this, and we find out that you're incorrect, and you went to attempt to cover that up. Oh, I'm talking charges. That's criminal, in my opinion.
But did it happen to Philip Morris?
Good point.
I mean, you have the tobacco industry that was putting out that cigarettes were good for you, and cigarettes did this, and cigarettes did that.
I mean, I guess they still do have to make those truth commercials.
Oh yeah, that's a real punishment. Dang, we still have to put commercials on TV to let people know our product still exists. We just have to say it's not good for you.
Right. Very true. Very true.
What trouble did they actually get in?
Did they have to? I feel like all they did was got a slap on the wrist fine, and then obviously they have to make these PSAs, which that's ridiculous. That's a good point.
That's an issue, and the FDA allows it.
The FDA is corrupt as hell. I will completely tell you that from jump. I do not like the FDA. As is any other government organization when we're just being completely blunt and honest. Sketchy Peasant says, my friend's co-worker was an anti-masker who didn't believe in the virus. He retired in July and moved to Texas. In January, he got COVID and ended up dying. I do apologize for that, Sketch. Definitely, you know, I do think that the data is there to show that masks work. It doesn't prevent you from necessarily, if you already have it, it doesn't prevent you from getting it, but it prevents you from spreading it. So I'm going to need, you know, that's fine. But when they said that information today, drawing it back to what I was telling you about the information where they said that you can still carry it, they said that that was all brought up based upon a question. I want to say to to Dr. Fauci, and they asked if if people who don't mask or people who get the vaccine don't have to mask, and I think he said yes, continue to mask for the moment, because you could be a carrier and you could still spread it to somebody who isn't vaccinated. So kind of drawing that in. Manny, I saw you kind of had a reaction there.
Well, no, I'm just at the end of the day, I think there needs to be a lot more testing done.
Absolutely. I agree.
You can't allow these companies to put in false or misleading or outdated facts and not do something to them, because then that just basically tells everybody that they can do whatever,
Now,
unlike our honeybee product, they were tested a lot. And you can trust that when you use a honeybee product, that you are using something that is good for you.
Now, I have a question with that, because you kind of bring up a good point, and we have been talking about the fact that vaccines were kind of rushed. The guy who started the rush was President Trump. Do you put any of the blame for maybe some of these being a little too rushed on his feet? Because he was the one who
there may be some blame there, but this is what I'm going to say. I feel that he took information that was given by the companies.
Right. I'm not saying throw Trump.
And that's, while yes, he may have been saying stuff that wasn't true, to his knowledge it was true, because he was getting it firsthand from these companies. I go back to the cigarette companies who, NBC and CBS and ABC was putting these commercials on saying how great cigarettes were. That doesn't mean that they were necessarily lying. They were believing what they were told.
Yeah, all you have to go off of is what you're being briefed. You're only as good as what you're being briefed. And, in this case, he could have very well been fed some bad information. I'm not saying by any stretch that Donald Trump blatantly lied to the American people.
Right.
By any stretch. I think that...
Right. I just know some of our audience, so I wanted to make sure to buffer that.
I will say this. I think that he offered, and I could be wrong on this, he offered a massive financial, thing to these companies to get this done. And I think some companies, maybe AstraZeneca, knock on wood, I don't want to get sued, but maybe AstraZeneca saw that and said, hey, we're going to
some shortcuts to make sure you get that.
And had half the cost, so we can take some of that money and keep it.
Right.
Who knows? This is things that businesses do, unfortunately. Okay, so we have no comments. We pretty much worn that topic out. Let's go ahead and move on to how sanctions are going to affect the European Union. And we have a story from WION on this.
In a tit-for-tat move, China has responded to the sanctions by the European Union and the United Kingdom and hit back immediately with punitive measures against European lawmakers. The European Union, the United States, Britain and Canada imposed fresh sanctions on Chinese officials over the crackdown on Uyghurs and other Muslim minorities. China's Ministry of Foreign Affairs published a statement on its website announcing sanctions on European lawmakers, the EU's main foreign policy decision-making body, and two institutes, and even accused them of harming China's sovereignty and interests. China's foreign ministry said that the EU's move grossly interferes in China's internal affairs and severely undermines China-EU relations. The individuals concerned and their families will be prohibited from entering the mainland, Hong Kong and Macau of China. Companies and institutions associated with them will also be restricted from doing business with China. The retaliatory strike drew condemnation from across the political spectrum in the European Union. The West is seeking to hold Beijing accountable for the mass detentions of Muslim Uyghurs in China. The European Union was the first to impose sanctions on Monday on 4 Chinese officials, including a top security director. The sanctions on Chinese officials involve travel bans and assets freezes.
This package includes 4 individuals and 1 entity from China who have had an active role in the design and implementation of the Chinese policies in Xinjiang. We were made aware during the meeting that China has retaliated to those sanctions and rather than change its policies and address our legitimate concerns, China has again turned a blind eye, and these measures are regrettable and unacceptable.
The EU sanctions were the first significant measure since the 1989 Tiananmen Square crackdown. The move by the US and its allies came just after US Secretary of State Antony Blinken confronted China's top diplomat about human rights abuses. Senior US administration officials have said that they are in daily contact with governments in Europe on China-related issues. Activists and UN rights experts say that at least 1 million Uyghurs and other Muslim minorities have been incarcerated in camps in Xinjiang, and China has been accused of forcibly sterilizing women and imposing forced labor. It has strongly denied allegations of any forced labor and says that these so-called camps provide vocational training needed to fight extremism.
Okay, before we get into the topic here, Virgil posted a comment before we hopped in there. He said, I think we ought to do what they have done in Sweden and have people make the choice of wearing a mask or not and develop a herd immunity. I think that could be done here in the U.S. Virgil, I'll address that by saying that I think it's too late for the herd immunity. I think when they should have done it, or when they could have done it, they were given data showing that it was too dangerous to potentially do that. So that's why that never happened here in the U.S.
Well, you say that, but Florida kind of did that.
Florida did it, but look at their numbers that exploded. They were the hot spot for the country for a long time.
And then their numbers dropped faster than anybody else. Yeah, we brought that up a few weeks ago when we were talking about the difference between California and the way they handled it, and Florida and the way they handled it.
True. Okay, maybe. I mean, and we're about to see something similar to that because all these mask mandates are ending here at the end of the month in a lot of states, including our own.
Supposedly, I did see an article that Joe Biden is pressuring governors to reinstate the mask mandate.
I mean, if Joe's pushing that that everybody needs to have the vaccine afforded to them by May 1st, there's really, in my opinion, no point to continue the mask mandates. Just my thoughts. I mean, will I continue until I get the vaccine to wear a mask? Yeah, but I don't think there's any point to continue the mandate on it. Nessa says Florida is apparently one of the places where the newest strain is rampant. Okay, so let's talk about this, about the sanctions in the EU. First off, my first question on this is, why did they only go after the European Union? We were just as big a factor in that as anybody else, as the European Union, and they decided to pick on little brother. I mean, what was that? That's my first impression on this.
Yeah, I have no idea why they only chose them. Are we still part of the European trade?
No, I call them little brother because they kind of tag along with us in most things.
So that's probably why, because they can do that and not so much upset the United States.
I mean, true, I can see that, but I could also see Biden, being pretty pissed off that they would do that to one of our, staunchest allies. So, I mean, it's kind of a gamble, as most of these decisions are at this level. But it is kind of a gamble whether you're going to piss us off enough to have us fire back at you.
What I thought was funny was China said that those sanctions came for no reason, that there was I forget how exactly it was worded. It just cracks me up when a country that won't allow its citizens to openly view information try to say, oh, no, they did that to us and it was unsubstantiated. They should have never took those measures because the data they was going on was rigged and this and that. Oh, we're supposed to believe you.
You're right. Yeah. Now we're supposed to believe you. We're supposed to trust that you're telling us the truth, even though we have this overwhelming evidence of these human rights violations and things of that nature. We're supposed to take your word for this one. Matt Hawk, what do you think about this?
I was gonna say I absolutely agree with you. I was gonna say, wasn't it that not that long ago? Didn't we have like a lead issue with China or something, and a lot of their toys they were making and sending over to the U.S.?
Yes,
We actually did. Now, if I'm remembering correctly, we say not that long ago, but I believe was that in the 2008-2009 timeframe? I believe Biden was still in office, or not Biden. God bless it, Obama. I'm starting to become Biden over here.
And Virgil actually just commented, they're commenting if you want to put it there. That was going to be my second question. Was I remember hearing a while ago about, some part of the UK breaking off into their own form of government or leaving the UK government. I wondered if this was part of that.
I think Brexit is still. I think the UK is still a part of it. I think it's still tentative to actually get that break done. I could be wrong on that. Manny, do you know?
I don't have any information on that. I know that they had been going through this Brexit thing for a long time, and it surprised me how long it has taken.
I actually, unless I'm mistaken, Brexit, the actual vote occurred the year that Donald Trump was elected, correct? So this has been going on
I believe you're right. They voted to leave the UK government,
European
but
Union.
I haven't, but I haven't heard anything more as to the process of that.
I know people have been given, like speeches left and right as to whether they should or shouldn't. So just because it got voted in a majority favor of leaving the European Union, for whatever reason, they weren't able to just terminate the union.
And maybe that's the difference. I don't know. I'm not, up to snuff on what the UK's actual situation is, but maybe that's the difference in the democracy and what they have over there, because maybe that was just a suggestion from the people, and maybe the parliament, I think is what they call it over there in the United Kingdom, decided not to do it. I don't know. Like I said, as far as I know, they are still part of the European Union.
As far as sanctions go, I mean, it's a part of business.
Yeah.
So, be grateful for the times that you didn't have sanctions. Now you have sanctions. That means you just pay a little bit more, I guess.
I forget who said it. I think it was you, Manny, last week that said it, though. But how much do we actually get from China? Let's be honest. We can circumvent China. We can we can go to, that's what I have for China in there.
Seems like the majority of the stuff that we get from China is, like novelty stuff.
Right.
It's not must-haves. It seems like other nations could do it just as cheap as China does.
Right, exactly. I mean, and as much as I would like to say I think we're hurting them more than they're hurting us, they could probably circumvent us just as much as we could circumvent them, and go and strike a barter deal with somebody else for cheaper goods.
But you were one of those guys that was on the ball with Sean that was saying that China pretty much owns us.
I do think China owns us. Absolutely. I think that's why I think we're in this, potential Cold War situation, because don't nobody in the U.S. want to fire off that first punch, and I think that's why we're letting them get away with a lot of the shit.
Comes Arkansas tip off.
Okay. Go Hogs. I got a commercial on mine.
I'm sorry, I stepped away from it. I was looking up on Google. I would like to find out what the sanctions are that are placed on the U.S. to be able to sell products in other countries, and then compare it to sanctions that we hold on other countries.
I know we have some pretty strict ones on China right now, but I don't know anything about, vice versa, what they have on us. They were supposed to have hit us pretty hard with some sanctions going all the way back to Trump. I think
I haven't heard of anything that they've actually implemented.
True.
They talked a big game, but didn't pull it through. Kind of like the Democrats these days.
Ooh, good point. Good point. Sketchy
Tie
says
that up with a nice little bow.
Sketch says there was a report where they went inside a house and looked at everything inside where it was built. 80% of the items inside the house was built in China. China owns America. I don't necessarily, I mean, I'm not disagreeing with you there, Sketch. But I don't think necessarily that's why we're owned by China. I think we're in debt to China quite a bit. So I think that's why China owns.
Yeah, and I'm not saying that we don't currently have a lot of stuff that was made in China. I'm saying that the things that we do have are like clothes, plastic.
Hell, there's still MAGA hats floating around that were made in China.
It's things that we don't necessarily have to have that was made by China. There are other countries that can make that stuff. Products are made in Mexico. You can get Mexican-made shirts. They might be even more colorful. Who knows?
Ooh.
You'll look more festive.
All I'm saying is the only thing I need imported from Mexico is tacos, because there is nothing better than an authentic Mexican taco. Once you have an authentic Mexican taco, Taco Bell can fall off a damn cliff.
Yes, thank you very much. I'm glad you realized that. I'll tell you what is more Mexican than that. Rice and beans, okay? Because you put rice and beans with anything, with the burrito, with the tamale, go to any Mexican restaurant, it's going to be with rice and beans.
That's true. That's true. That is a damn good point. Nessa said probably lasts longer than Chinese shit too. I love it, Nessa. But no, by the way, Matt Hawk will be right back. But no, I completely agree. I think that as much as China owns us, this whole sanction battle, they're not going to win this because the U.S. will do what we need to do.
Right. And when we say China owns us, it isn't that they own us. It's just that we owe more money than we have been paying.
Right. Exactly.
So we're indebted to them, not so much that they own us.
Right. Exactly. I completely agree with the way you're saying that. Okay. So this one's going to be interesting for me. Chicago set to pay African-American residents reparations, and we have a story from NBC Chicago on this.
New tonight at 10, an historic vote by the Evanston City Council tonight. It has approved the first part of a plan to pay reparations to its black residents. It's the nation's first approved reparations program. NBC5's Alex Maragos on the story for us. He's live in Evanston. Alex.
Allison, a really interesting debate tonight. Some say this measure doesn't go far enough. Others are concerned if it's constitutional, and they've got an election here in Evanston in a couple weeks. Some are saying let's wait till we get a new city council. But this measure was approved 8-1 tonight, and the first payments from a new city sales tax on marijuana will go to qualified black residents here in Evanston.
Tonight, Evanston City Council voted 8-1 to approve reparations to black residents. $400,000 will go to qualified applicants for housing assistance.
I think this step is going to pull all of America forward, and it's really critical that we take that first step.
Those approved can use up to $25,000 for things like down payments, home improvement, or mortgage assistance.
The large majority of black Evanstons are very, very happy with the movement that is being made tonight.
Michael Neighbors is the president of Evanston's NAACP. He says this is an important first step toward justice.
So we're looking forward to getting this out of the way so that the entire nation can understand that reparations work.
Alderman Cicely Fleming was the lone no vote tonight.
Rather than this reparations dictating to black people what they need and how they will receive it, we need to listen more to the people.
Many residents also shared their concerns during time for public comment.
We support the housing program. We don't support calling this reparations because it simply is not.
That's all we're saying is take your time.
Why are you rushing? This isn't about your legacy.
This ordinance is doomed to be declared unconstitutional.
Now, that last comment came from a law professor who supports reparations. A D.C. law firm sent Evanston a letter saying that this ordinance is unconstitutional. Evanston leaders say if there are legal challenges to it, they will be prepared for them. Reporting live in Evanston, Alex Maragos, NBC 5 News.
The conversation continues. We'll see what happens, Alex. Thank you very much.
So, couple thoughts here.
My first question is, what is Evanston?
Evanston is.
Why did they start there? What?
I would agree. I think I agree with the woman who said this isn't about your legacy. Number one, do you leave a legacy if you're on the city council?
Right.
My first thought when watching this is we're going to give it to current Evanston residences, which Evanston, by the way, is a suburb of Chicago.
Right, but were they heavily redlined? Is that a heavily redlined area?
Well, my thought is, shouldn't it also be open, if not only open to the people who can prove that their ancestors, their great-grandparents, their grandparents, what have you, were actually there during that time?
Right, that was originally one of my thoughts, because I was thinking you're going to get an influx of people start moving over there just to get those reparations. You're going to get an influx of people that would have never told you that they had any kind of black ancestry in them. All of a sudden, like the Native Americans, you're like, oh, I got 1/6400.
Right. The other interesting thing I saw there was the fact that, and I'm not going to say I don't support reparations, because I think that something should be done. I'm not sure what that looks like by any stretch. I haven't actually sat there and thought about this. I haven't sat there and actually played this out. But I think something should be done by any stretch. But with that being said, it's interesting that a law professor said it's unconstitutional. They didn't explain what about it was unconstitutional. That's what bothers me, because I want to know what about it is unconstitutional. Where it violates the Constitution. I mean, at this point, if we're talking Constitution, there's a good chance that this goes all the way up to the Supreme Court.
Well, I am not in favor of anything called reparations. I think that is a mistake to call it that. I do believe that institutions that still show to practice redlining activity, even though it is illegal, I think they need to be held accountable, because while that was something that was done openly back in the day, I think we can agree that it still happens today.
I would agree. Nessa says, I'm not sure what reparations means, but this is being funded with money taken from people who pay cash for their medicine by taxing them more for it. Besides the fact that there are going to be so many people who cheat their way into this and take advantage of it. I do agree. Once again, I would like to see more about how you're going to prove, everything. Like you said, if I walk in there, I shouldn't be able to walk in there and say, hey, yeah, my great-grandfather was a slave back in the farm, and then we just kind of turned lighter as the world changed, I don't think I think there should be some sort of proof, unless I guess you're an African-American individual. I mean, if I walk in there as a black man, then I'm pretty sure I'm a black man, But with that being said, do I necessarily hate the idea of a reparation being hey, here's $25,000, go buy yourself a home? That's actually better, I think, than just handing money out. You control what they're going to spend it on. I mean, and that gets into kind of, I guess, a fucked up idea of should we control what they spend their money on? See, this is a nasty little rabbit hole that we can get down as to, You know, is it fair that they are telling them that they can only spend it on a down payment for a house? I think, though, that this is the most beneficial to the community, I guess is the way I can say it, because you're setting them up with something that is an appreciating asset that they can use, you know, that they can use. I think that they should treat this a lot like the VA loan, where you have to prove that you're going to live in this house, you know, and so on and so forth. Like, this has to be your primary residence. You have to, you know, it has to be a house that can pass an inspection. Another thing that the VA loan does is they make sure that the house has to have like a refrigerator and a stovetop, or else they won't approve it. I think that they should put those type of regulations just to make sure that these people are getting the most benefit out of. Because some people will also get in this real estate market in Evanston and sell crappy ass houses at a huge profit too.
Yeah.
Nessa says, yes, a whole neighborhood of homes that will more than likely end up in shambles within a few years. I don't necessarily agree with that statement, in that I think that if you have something that is yours, you're more likely to take care of it, because then you know it's all on you if you fuck it up.
But are you more likely to take care of it better if you had to work for it, or if it was just given to you?
Well, I mean, and this is once again getting down a rabbit hole, so you can respond to it if you want to or not, but some people would respond to that as, hey, my ancestors worked for it when y'all didn't pay them.
But look, I want to, because I've heard that thrown around. I was just reading that while when I sorry to interrupt you here, but I've heard that thrown around. I wanted to look it up, and I did, and I found it here. First off, they are saying, yes, that this is from the Associated Press, this article that I'm reading right now. But first paragraph, Evanston, Illinois on Monday became the first U.S. city to make reparations available to its black residents for past discrimination and the lingering effects of slavery. Okay, well, number one, I've never owned any slaves, and neither have my parents or their parents, or even for that matter, maybe their parents' parents. So why should I have to pay for the reparations? Number two, when slaves were freed people widely expected to legally claim 40 acres of land, a quarter section, and a mule after the end of war. Some freedmen took advantage of the order and took initiatives to acquire land plots along a strip of South Carolina, Georgia, and Florida coasts. So we already gave the slaves 40 acres of land. How much more? Like, I'm not trying to be mean here and step on toes, but when was the last time you remember getting 40 acres of land given to you?
Well, and that's something interesting, because I've never heard that it was actually offered. I've heard that it was said that, you know, people would be entitled to 40 acres and a mule, but I've never heard somebody say that it was offered. So that's interesting that the Associated Press is reporting that to me. I would like to do some research.
It was offered. Not a lot of people took up the offer, however, but the ones who did, I mean, we shouldn't have to pay for people that got the reparations and
I agree. I mean,
broke the land up and sold it to other people to profit themselves, and then never handed it down to their family. I mean,
process on this. If you were offered and, you know, your ancestor decided to decline that offer, then I'm sorry, we did offer it. I don't necessarily think that if your ancestor declined it, you should now be able to go back and be like, well, you offered it to me, give it back to me. I don't know.
I mean, and that's basically what I'm saying, is like the offer was made to make it right by whatever government officials we had then. Whether you chose to accept was up to you, but the offer was made. I can't go down to McDonald's and have them screw up my order yet again and get a McChicken instead of McDouble, and have my son's son go back to McDonald's 50 years from now and say, hey, you gave my great granddad a McChicken instead of McDouble. I need another McDouble, please.
Right. And I would agree with that. I never knew that the offer was actually made. One thing, though, that I would like to hear your opinion on, Mad Hawk, is exactly what I was talking about, how I like what they're doing. Instead of just giving them cash, they're trying to get them to use it on an appreciating asset. Like, hey, we'll give you this reparation of $25,000 for a home. Do you like that idea more than just straight cash?
Why do we have to give them additionally when just about everybody in the U.S. between taxes and the last 3 stimulus checks have gotten thousands of dollars given to them? Why not just come out with a program that says, hey, we'll match if you can't afford, a $10,000 down payment, we'll work with you on your credit and your budget of what you can afford from your stimulus and your tax refunds to get you a down payment into a house.
It's not a bad idea either. Manny, what's your thoughts on the two that we've talked about? The one that actually passed and then the one he just talked about. It's not a bad idea.
Well, there's the third one that I've talked about in the past, and that is to put a cap on what you can charge for a home.
Oh, yes, that's a good point too.
Put a cap on what you can charge for rent.
Mm-hmm. That's a good point too.
That right there, I don't understand how the house that I own right now should appreciate in value to the point that I could double my money.
Well, and the reason why I so agree with what they're doing in Evanston is, what is the number one thing that say the diva would always say? What's the biggest reason for the wealth gap in this country? And it's because, or the greatest way to fix it is to allow people to own land and things like that. This allows that situation, and this clears that up. That's why I would see this situation. Going to clean up some comments here. Sketch says, I recommend you all read the book, The Color of Law, which discusses tactics used to deny African Americans, which has caused generational wealth gaps, which I'm assuming is probably something to do with what I just mentioned. Nessa says, there is a noticeable difference between all black neighborhoods versus neighborhoods consisting of mostly other races. Go to any city and look at the projects. I realize white people live there too, but it can't be denied the quality of these type of neighborhoods quickly deteriorates when people don't take care of their belongings. I think
I'm going to disagree on that one.
Have you been to the country?
I hate to call it out because it is where I'm from. It's where we do our wrestling shows. Go to Mountain Pine. Up until like 3-4 years ago, there were tracks that separated the black side from the white side. And the black side was a whole lot better looking than the white side.
I agree. I think if you, once again, I think if you own something, there's a little bit of accountability there that may force people to take care of stuff. Maybe they'll appreciate it. Sketch also says, most Americans have their wealth in their house through equity. A couple of stimulus checks does not equal the amount of wealth lost through generations. Nessa says, why shouldn't it appreciate it? Take care of it and put other money into maintain and improve it. Go ahead, Matt Hawk.
Why is it our generations? Why does it fall on our generation to pay financially for past generations' mistakes? I mean, to me, I feel like we have tried to make it right as much as possible, and it begins to fall in the line of, if you give a mouse a cookie, he's going to want a glass of milk.
I mean, like I said, I never knew the offer was made until tonight, so that may change my thoughts here. I'm going to have to rethink a lot of this. Sketch, Nessa says, why shouldn't it appreciate if you take care of it and put other money into it, maintain and improve it? I think she's talking to you, Manny, what you said earlier.
Right. I just know that in the 2 years that I've lived in this house that we're buying, nobody has come and reappraised it. Just from us trimming bushes around the front, it has appreciated in value like $20-something thousand. Why?
I guess in your case, it's I think in your case, I see your point because you're still in the process of actively buying it. And that could drive the price up once you actually buy it. Whereas, if you actually own the property, you're going to be doing everything you can to make a buck whenever you decide to sell it, or after you die to allow your kids to sell it to make a profit as well.
Right. And it's, when you have these areas where a lot of mobile homes are, it drives the property value down.
Right.
You get to these places where homes are built, the property value comes up. More people put more money and build newer houses and bigger houses. Why does that so much affect your property value?
True.
That's what I'm saying. That's the problem I have. It's a more sought after neighborhood, so they expect people to pay more for it. That's a problem, in my opinion.
Good point. Good point. I mean, look at Chenal versus the rest of Little Rock. You got $1 million homes in Chenal, and then less than a mile down the interstate, you got the Southwest Little Rock. It's crazy.
Right. I think each property should be looked at in its own.
Absolutely, I would agree there. Sketch says, my grandmother bought her house in 1962 for $8,000. Today, her house is worth almost $350,000. African Americans did not have the opportunity like my grandmother because of the color of their skin. And then Nessa responded to you and says aesthetics. People like things that look nice. I guess talking about your bushes being trimmed. Okay. With that being said, let me pull that comment down. Let's go ahead and go on to the final topic before our American Idiot of the Week. The Proud Boys and the Oath Keepers apparently teamed up for January 6th. We have this news coming out here. MSNBC has a story on it.
It was a zero threat. Right from the start, it was zero threat. Look, they went in. They shouldn't have done it. Some of them went in and they're hugging and kissing the police and the guards. You know, they had great relationships.
As former President Donald Trump tries to rewrite the history we all watched with our very own eyes, the nation is getting a reality check with new revelations from the Department of Justice, laying out how the far-right group, the Proud Boys, communicated and conspired with the militia group, the Oath Keepers, in the weeks leading up to the Capitol Hill riots. Joining me now are Glenn Kirshner, former federal prosecutor and legal analyst for MSNBC, and Malcolm Nance, MSNBC contributor and author of the book, The Plot to Betray America. Two people I couldn't be more happy to talk to about this. Before we get started, now that we know that the DOJ is looking at how they communicated and conspired, I want us to listen to Mr. Sherwin, who, set off a bit of an earthquake with his interview on 60 Minutes a while back. Have a listen. We'll talk about it.
Seems like a very low bar, and I wonder why you're not charging that now.
Okay, so I don't think it's a low bar, Scott, but I will tell you this. I personally believe the evidence is trending towards that and probably meets those elements.
Do you anticipate sedition charges against some of these suspects?
I believe the facts do support those charges. And I think that as we go forward, more facts will support that, Scott.
And so, Glenn, sedition charges, given what I said in the intro and given what we know right now, do you think it's just a fait accompli? Those charges are coming.
Yeah, which doesn't mean Michael Sherwin, a federal prosecutor, had any business going on 60 Minutes and talking about future charges. A bedrock principle of being a federal prosecutor, Jonathan, I was one for 30 years, is we don't talk about pending cases or investigations. We certainly don't predict what charges might be brought in the future. Moving past Michael Sherwin's inappropriate conduct, there are four ways that sedition charges can be brought. And, yes, one is the violent overthrow of the government. One is levying war against the United States. But there are two other theories of liability in the seditious conspiracy law. And it's that people conspire to prevent or delay any law from being carried out. That's sedition. They certainly tried to prevent and delay the election results from being certified. And the fourth might actually be the most on point, Jonathan, given what we know happened at the Capitol on January 6th. The fourth is that if anybody takes, seizes, or possesses property of the United States by force and without authority, that also satisfies the elements of the crime of sedition. So I think that fourth sedition crime is really the easiest to prove based on what we know. And then finally, when people say, well, the federal government brought sedition charges 10 years ago unsuccessfully, so, they might be shy about doing it again. That dog don't hunt, because you know what? If I lost a murder case 10 years ago, but I have the evidence to support bringing murder charges today, the last thing I'm going to do is be shy about bringing that charge today because I lost a similar charge 10 years ago.
And, Malcolm, one of the interesting things and troubling things about what happened on January 6th is the number of members of the military who were caught up in this. 1 in 8 charged in Capitol riot have military first responder ties. And then you have someone like Mike Rogers, a ranking member of the House Armed Services Committee, who seemed to be downplaying extremism in the military. Have a listen to what he said on Capitol Hill on Wednesday.
I also want to root out of the military those who actively participate in vile and violent hate groups. We cannot ask people to fight and die together under the shadow of racial hatred. But it's important to remember that extremist behavior is already prohibited by the Uniform Code of Military Justice and by each service's own regulations. It's also
okay. I can't deal with that, dude.
33-16.
You see, I'm kind of depressed about that. It was a good run. The dude is completely right, though. The UCMJ already prohibits that. He can shut the fuck up. We already have that taken care of in the military. Interesting thing, though, that the prosecutor brought up was that number 3. He said number 4 was more on point, and he said actively taking the land. I don't think they actively took the land. I don't think that's on point. I think number 3 was on point, where they sought to delay or stop the passing of something. I think that one is where you could prove sedition. What do you think? Go ahead.
It's going to depend on what evidence they have found. When they were talking, however they were corresponding with each other, what was the language that was used? Because again, like we all pointed out, the things that Trump said maybe didn't make him look good, but technically was not illegal.
Right. Absolutely. One thing that is interesting to me is this prosecutor still has a job after talking to 60 minutes about an open fucking case. Like, this dude not only needs to be fired, I would assume this dude needs to go to jail. I mean, this is a national security issue, is it not?
Yes, it is. Especially the way they're pushing it, it's a national security issue. But yeah, the fact that he's talking about an active, open case, he definitely needs to be terminated.
On national television at that. Like, that prosecutor, did well in saying that, that guy had no business going in, but it sounds like the Justice Department was kind of protecting him. If you read that headline, it said nobody was willing to comment on whether he got permission to do that interview. It sounds like the Justice Department is actually protecting this guy.
Right.
What in your right mind tells you it is acceptable to go out there and not only talk about an active case, but to talk about potential charges and say, yes, sedition is on the table, when we don't, number one, have this case wrapped up. We don't have everybody behind bars.
Wrapped up? This case hasn't even really started.
True. I mean,
this is the first that they've come forward even saying that it looks like we're finding some stuff. I mean, just last week we were talking about the whole investigation grinding to a halt.
True. And I mean, you are risking what little you have by doing something this stupid. And this is a failure on the Biden Justice Department. It goes all the way up to me. Like,
these are the kind of things that these are the kind of things that police do that set murderers free because they forgot to get one signature in a certain place on a warrant. It's just stupid little things like that.
Absolutely. Matt Hawk, what's your thoughts on the potential for sedition charges to be brought, and then also on this prosecutor just mind-blowingly talking about an active case and what charges could be brought?
Well, absolutely. I was actually just kind of researching there, and I agree with you. First off, that prosecutor, nobody ever, he's absolutely right. He should have been scorned on national TV. Come out and say that charges are pending, and that you're close to making an arrest or anything. Even, they always just say we're looking into suspect or whatever. You're basically giving your person that you're looking for, your suspect, an opportunity to run away and give them advance warning. Hey, we're coming after you. Right. The other thing that interested me was, as much as he was talking about how they classify the charge of it, and that's what I was researching online, because I know I've stated before that, this group of people felt that the government was a tyranny at that point, and according to the Constitution, I believe that they have a right to storm and overthrow the government. Mm-hmm. It seems like to me what he's saying is basically, we got a way to charge you, and if you think you can do that as an American citizen, guess what? That doesn't really apply. And we're going to prove you wrong. There's no way that you can overthrow the government no matter what we do. So to me, it kind of sounded like he just said the Constitution doesn't matter.
It's actually an interesting take. So I think that it may be a little bit different had we had a little bit of evidence in front of us of what Trump's claims were. Well, I think what he was actually explaining, the second prosecutor, the one that was on there, the former prosecutor, I think what he was actually explaining was how they could charge them with sedition. But also, maybe makes a good point. I mean, while I think 3 is more of a lock pin than 4, when he was talking about the, 4 options you have to charge them with sedition, he said, that 3 was looking to delay or prevent something from being passed, or 4 was actively taking possession
or
of a government property. I don't think that happened. I think 3 is where they would have to go if they wanted a conviction, because I mean, you can't. In my opinion, you can prove that they delayed the vote. I mean, but is that enough?
Well, from what I'm reading here, I can send this to you if you would like. This is from the Washington Post. It sounds like they are saying, what they are citing is that these two groups prepped together as that. Sorry, I'm just reading here. I'm going to quote this. This week I organized an alliance between Oath Keepers, Florida 3%ers, and Proud Boys. Oath Keepers leader Kelly Meggs wrote December 19th in one of a string of Facebook communications included by prosecutors in a detention memo filed Tuesday in his case. And then it goes on to further quote, I guess he also posted, "We have decided to work together and shut this blank down." So apparently those are what they are using to charge this person with what they're charging with. Forgive me.
I was about to say, I don't think they've charged them with sedition yet. I think they're
right. And this is going to go back to where everybody was at.
Right.
If they were in public areas that it is not illegal to be in,
right,
they're going to have a hard time proving that they were trying to shut anything down. I mean, you can talk a big game on Facebook, but at the end, if you haven't crossed the line and actually committed a crime,
so
the freedom of speech is there.
Let me make sure I understand, because I mean, I think we can all agree they delayed the vote. Their actions delayed the vote. Are you saying that you have to prove that their intent was to delay the vote to be able to get this sedition charge?
No, I'm saying that you have to show that it wasn't just the government overreacting.
Okay.
If I run into the hallway, which is legal, and I yell and yell and yell, which is legal, and the government decides, oh crap, we better go, you can't say that I caused anything.
True.
Everything I did was legal.
Okay. I see your point.
And
now.
that's basically where I was going. Is like, if they're going to cite this Facebook post, I mean, nothing says that they didn't get together and say, hey, we're all going to gather together. We're going to go up there. We're going to, yell and scream like Manic was talking about. We're going to peacefully protest in our way. And we're going to show up, with our guns, but we're not encouraging violence. Then they were just doing a peaceful protest. They have the right to bear arms. They have the right to protest and freedom of speech. Now, if a smaller group of those individuals decided to talk amongst each other and say, hey, we're going to break in and start shooting people up, then you could charge those people, but you can't charge the whole group.
Yeah, that's a very weak, knowing if that's what they have and that's all that they have, which I'm assuming that's not all that they have if they're talking about sedition, but knowing that that's what they have, that's very weak. Virgil says, I'm not happy with what happened. However, the Biden administration has thrown out pretty much of the Constitution. Therefore, with the Constitution being thrown out, there will be more of this happening. I mean, we're talking about the law versus the Constitution. The Supreme Court is there to decide whether something's constitutional. And the Supreme Court can't talk about it until after, obviously, things have happened. So
there's a process.
Figure out if this is constitutional or not. But I feel like number one, if the Justice Department is smart, they will not seek sedition charges. I think sedition charges will be hard to prove, unless you go for the delaying tactic. But like you said, Manny, I didn't think of it from that perspective. But if they didn't commit a crime in delaying the vote, and it was just the U.S. government saying, hey, this is a security risk, let's go ahead and preemptively get everybody out of here, then you can't quite say that it's just these Proud Boys and these Oath Keepers' fault. Not saying that I like these people, because all these people can fucking be put on a plane and that plane can crash and I wouldn't shed a tear. But
42-29.
Ooh, Eric. Anyway, with that being said, I'm not mad about it. It's been a good week. With that being said, I don't know necessarily that I can say that the Biden administration has thrown out the Constitution. Nessa says they were within their rights until they went into a restricted area and defaced property. If I'm with a group of people and they kill someone, I still get in trouble even if I didn't do anything. Nessa, I think that's the linchpin, though, that Manny's saying. I think that's the linchpin that Manny's saying. If we're going to charge with sedition, they have to have been committed a crime. If the Proud Boys and the Oath Keepers were smart enough to stay inside of that hallway where it is in the restricted area, then you can't charge them with as strong a penalty as, say, the dude who had his feet up on Nancy's desk. That was a restricted area. I mean, it is what it is. It's the law. While these Proud Boys may have been talking a big game, like Matt Hawk said on Facebook, if they didn't actually commit the crime, then they didn't commit the crime, and you can't really do anything about it. At that point,
and the thing she's talking about is the RICO Act.
Okay.
The RICO Act states that if you're a part of the group that is committing a crime, and no, I guess that isn't really the RICO Act, but basically, if you are a part of a group that commits a crime, all of you in that group can be charged with the most heinous part of that crime.
Okay.
So if 4 people go to rob a bank and somebody decides to kill a guard, all 4 of you can be charged for that murder.
Right. And that in Texas, I know for sure is called the law of parties, because we've actually talked that on Clear and Convincing.
Now, what you have to prove is that the people that were in the restricted areas was part of the group that was talking to each other.
And unfortunately, the Proud Boys and the Oath Keepers are a lot like these QAnons. They're not necessarily the most what's the word I'm looking for? Organized. You're gonna have a hard time proving that these people aren't gonna come out and be like, yeah, I'm Proud Boy, I'm Oath Keeper, woo woo woo, whatever, whoop de whoop. these people aren't going to be like that, especially when they know that if they did say some stupid shit like that, that they're going to be charged with a heavier offense. So I mean, definitely something to keep the eye on. So here we go. American Idiot of the Week. And I'm probably about to make y'all laugh. I forgot to send this. I totally meant to send this story out to you guys yesterday. Y'all being Trump fans, I figured you'd get a kick out of this. So a couple over the weekend got married in Mar-a-Lago. And who stumbles in the reception but the former president of the United States, Donald J. Trump. And instead of wishing the happy couple a happy wedding and, saying, hey, congratulations, what does Donald Trump do? And there's actual video that was posted with this story. Donald Trump uses this platform to grab the microphone and start talking about how he was screwed out of the election. Thank you, Mr. President. Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate that. You're my American Idiot of the Week. Manny?
That is pretty bad.
I can't wait for the visual.
Yeah. That's crazy. I thought maybe he was going to invoke whatever that ancient English thing was where he gets to have the bride before the groom does.
Oh, that would have been beautiful too.
And I've looked all over the place and I can't find this captain's name, but the captain of this boat that got stuck in the Suez Canal. He's my American Idiot of the Week because
for the picture.
Once everything was done and they started looking at the GPS of this boat, yeah, you can see the little cock and balls that he drew. I don't get it. I mean, it's like, let's make a bunch of circles here and let's make circles here. And yeah.
I mean, to be honest here, though, if you really dissect this is a cock and balls. Is that butt cheeks?
Was that a big screw you before he got it stuck in the canal?
Maybe.
So yes, he's while very inventive, yeah, he's my American Idiot of the Week.
Oh, right. I love that dude. Okay, Matt Hawk, who's your American Idiot?
I'm going to be honest. It has been a crazy busy week for me. I've been doing a lot of just different projects and launching a lot of things. So I have not had a lot of chance to pick out an American Idiot of the Week. So instead, I'm just going to leave you with this because my American Idiot of the Week will just be Joe Biden. And I have a little joke that somebody sent me earlier. It says, during a dull DNC dinner, Jill Biden leaned over to chat with Chuck Schumer. She said, I bought Joe a parrot for his birthday. That bird is so smart. Joe has already taught him to say over 200 words. Very impressive, said Chuck, but you do realize he just speaks the words. He doesn't really understand what all the words mean. Oh, I know, replied Jill, but neither does the parrot.
Damn. Yeah, Joe has been giving us plenty of material over the past week. I want Joe to do well. I really do. I voted for the man, and I don't think he's doing a bad job. But man, somebody needs to get him a vocal coach or give him some notes or something.
Since I have started doing this podcast with you, Mike, Joe has been my American Idiot of the Week more times than anyone else.
We need to start keeping track of this. And then the winner at the end of the year with the most American Idiot of the Week nominations needs to be our American Idiot of the Year. But no, I would not be surprised because we've had Joe. I've had Joe a few times. You've had Joe a few times. Sean's had Joe. We've all had Trump at one point or another. I think those are probably the top two vote getters, honestly.
Yeah.
Joe. Oh my goodness. Okay, y'all. So with that,
44 to 36.
Oh, okay.
They're starting to play now.
We're starting to. We've been down double digits this whole tournament, so maybe we'll be able to get another comeback in the second half. Okay. Real quick, did you want to do Honeybee again before we get out of here?
Oh, sure. Honeybee CBD products. They are wonderful. I use them. They really take away aches and pains. You can go onto the American Idiots Facebook page and find a link. Check out all their products.
Absolutely. Well, ladies and gentlemen, for the Manic Hispanic and the Mad Hawk, I am Money Mike, and we will talk at you next week.
Later, everybody.
That I welcome this kind of examination because people have got to know whether or not their president is a crook. Well, I'm not a crook.